Hey guys, Chris here back for another vendor voice. I'm super excited about the vendor that we've got on today. And I want you to stay tuned. Remember, at every vendor voice that we do, we always wrap with that fun facts finale, giving you the opportunity to see our guest speaker that we've invited on to learn a little bit of fun stuff about that individual. But today, I have Paul with HD Supply on. Paul, how you doing today?
Yes, I'm doing awesome, man.
Good, man. We were just catching up a little bit before we hopped on here, and I reside in Southwest Florida, but you're even further south. What was the temperature this morning when you woke up?
I woke up, it was 47 degrees.
Okay. And by the way, I know for all of our quote rest of the country, it's like Florida is its own little space in itself, but we got a cold wave here. I woke up to 40 degrees. I'm in Southwest Florida. Paul's in Miami, and we were just chatting about how it makes the news when snow falls. But you guys will get a chuckle out of this. In Miami, what makes the news down there? What falls down there?
Falling iguanas, man. It's a real problem. They are warm-blooded animals, and when it gets this cold, they just drop out of a tree.
They,
The crazy part is people will pick them up, and as soon as they warm up, they spring right back to life. So you can imagine it gets real interesting real quick.
yeah, well, and here's the funny thing, right? We're not talking just iguanas, right? We're talking iguanas. Like people's
Yeah.
never been to the southeast part of Florida, and you've never seen iguanas. Like they're like miniature dinosaurs, and some of those things, man, they you think like human beings would scare them a little bit.
See you later.
No way, man. They stand tall, and I remember you'll get a chuckle out of this, and we'll jump straight in the interview. My wife and I had visited Key Largo, and we were in the parking lot of the place we were staying at, and I walked out to the car, and there was an iguana sitting in front of my door. It was probably 3 or 4 foot long, and it just stared at me. It wasn't moving. It wasn't getting out of my way. I had to step over it to get into the car. And just so you know, iguanas aren't vicious, but they do bite. I just want to throw that out there.
Uh,
So,
I can definitely say that their fear of people is non-existent.
yeah,
So
it's almost
it's
like the good old fashioned sandhill cranes that we've got too. People see this big tall bird and think you can just run at the bird and it'll run away. I mean, we got some real, I'm going to say it for what it is. We got some gangster type of animals in Florida. You got the gators, you got the iguanas, you got the sandhill cranes. Don't forget the pythons that are down in the Everglades. I mean, you
I was
know,
gonna say pythons in the Everglades, and we've also got the burrowing screech owl. They're like
oh yeah.
they're about the size of a baseball,
Yeah.
and they burrow into like the beach head. And if you disturb that little burrow, they will come out and try and clip off a finger. It's
Yeah.
pretty aggressive out here.
All right.
So
So for everybody that was thinking about moving to Florida, there's your rundown, right? Well, Paul, let's just jump in really quick. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us and to really share with our members a little bit about HD Supply. I know we've had a lot of great conversations around what you guys do. So why don't we just kind of jump in a little bit? What do you feel like contractors need to know about what makes a good vendor partner from your perspective?
well, Chris, from where I'm standing, I definitely think that the answer is in the question, the right partnership.
Mm,
I feel like that's a little bit lost on your basic relationship with a supply house or a retail store. They're not really into it for the relationship. And when I think about it, it's really about finding a partner. Someone who understands you, who understands your business, who understands your goals, your style of doing things,
mm,
and really understanding how we fit into that mix.
mm.
I think that's the most important thing when you're sort of, let's say, dating a partner, so to speak. You're trying to figure out if this is the person you want to spend some time with, if they're the people that you like, if they can do what you want them to do. I think it's important that you have an honest conversation about goals and
Mm.
what you as a business are trying to get done.
Well, I mean, I think that kind of really dovetails into what I really love. So when I think of traditional parts, right? Traditional parts and equipment. I think of my supply house as my go-to person, and I go down, I buy from them, they ship to me, and then they bring my deliveries in. But HD does much more than just transactional relationships. So, Paul, maybe tell me a little bit about some of the unique offerings that are available to our members through HD Supply.
Well, the first thing is I totally understand where people come from on the transactional side of things. You know, you need to buy something, somebody has it, you buy it, and you move on. I get that, but where we come in differently than most supply houses and most other places is we really do want to understand what you're doing.
Mm.
And we do want to understand and align with what you're kind of what you're preaching here at Blue Collar as well. So whether that's something like our consignment program, which we call pre-positioned inventory, we want to make sure that you have the products that you need in your warehouse and you can go and get those jobs done same day, because that's important. You never want to give the customer a chance to leave, and you never want to give the customer a chance to think about what they're trying to get done.
Mm.
So that's a really important way of starting a solution, is making sure that you have the product, but you're not outlaying the cost of having that product parked in your warehouse.
Mm.
Because that's another thing that, I'm sure your coaches talk about it all the time. It kills your profitability at the end of the year when you look at your standing inventory costs just sitting there.
Yeah,
And
and Paul, you bring up a really good point. I tell people all the time, like contractors aren't necessarily parts managers, right? And so my partner in business during my time of owning and operating an electrical contracting business here in the state of Florida, my partner came from the supply house world. And so he was able to bring some of that expertise into the business. But a few things that, we knew that was really important when you're in the supply house is stock turn, right? Managing stock turns and trying to be experts at managing stock turns so that, to your point, we don't have a lot of inventory on the shelf. We have just what we need, not too much and not too less, because there's
right.
that sweet spot. And you mentioned consignment. And I know contractors who've been burnt by this before. I just want to go on the record and say that consignment creates cash flow, but it will kill a business that's not operationally excellent.
I totally agree. And that's why partnership is really, really important, because from the vendor side of it, if we don't manage it properly and actively, we do not set any contractor up for success.
Mm,
So one of the most important things that we stress here at HD Supply is active management of the consignment. So
yeah.
you're going to work with a team, you're going to work with your consignment team, you're going to work with your field sales manager, and what they're going to be doing is actively auditing your consignment every 90 days. So that
Mm.
way, Chris, you don't wake up in 2027 with a bill for $200,000 and there's no trail on it, and there's no tracking, and there's no ability to follow up.
Well, here's what I know, Paul. Consignment creates an open loop for conflict. And let me just say it the way it needs to be said for our members to hear this. Because what Paul just said, you get hit with this bill at the end of the year and nobody can answer where the parts went. And you're going, well, we didn't use them. And and the vendor's going, well, they're not here anymore. Where did they go? Right. And so it goes back to just not having good processes in place that allow you to be able to do that. Now, Paul, a little bit different for me in my business. I had a deal where all my trucks were consigned. So I had a warehouse and then I got 62 more mobile warehouses that I'm consigning. And one of the most valuable things that I ever did in business regarding inventory is to have very clear processes. So once a week, we did inventory, but not in traditional source. And so maybe I'd be curious, Paul, how HD handles the every 90 days. So for me, every truck was laid out the exact same way, just like a warehouse. You know what's down aisle 5, halfway down on the left top shelf is where all of these gadgets and widgets are. Well, on my service trucks were the exact same way. All of them were the same. All of them had the same quantities, and I knew. So what would happen is once a week, the entire fleet would only be inventoried on 4 to 5 bins. So it's not like you're doing the whole truck. So Paul, what's the process for that 90-day? Do you guys come in and do like a full-on inventory in the warehouse, or do y'all do spot checks?
We do a full on inventory every 90 days. So
Dang.
we do a full count every 90 days, mainly because we don't want to have that open loop for conflict that
Mm,
you hit it right on the head. And 90 days is just enough runtime to pick up a problem before it's a problem.
yeah.
And we do a full count every 90. And our field sales managers come in, and every time they visit you, if they visit you once every 2 weeks, once a month, once every 6 weeks, they'll spot check a couple of things to make sure that we're going in the right direction. Or if you're seeing that your inventory, you're turning through it, this is the obviously the best case scenario is you're turning through the inventory so fast that we need to adjust it. We can make those adjustments on the fly. But when we do that count, the last thing that goes on our audit sheet is a signature from somebody at the contractor. So Chris, the last thing we would have for you would be we'd have Chris Crew scribbled right across the middle of our audit sheet to say, hey, the last time I saw you, the last time it was here, you knew what was here.
Mm.
So we have a good, strong, open base to move from.
Well,
And
I
that's
go
from
back to,
and that starts on day one when we put the product in. That product is unpacked and loaded onto the shelves by our people.
and you guys bring in your own shelving and everything. Is that right, Paul? So you just need the space and you guys handle it from there?
We can bring it in when we get into our larger solutions, like let's say vendor managed inventory
Mhm.
on-site services. That's where we have an employee of HD Supply basically running a warehouse for you. We
Mm.
bring in everything. The only thing I don't think we bring in is a forklift, honestly.
Okay.
And I think that has more to do with like space requirements than it does the actual need.
Yeah.
But we can, if we're consigning 20 items, Chris, I'm happy to, we'll bring in boxes, we'll bring in labels, we'll make that happen for you. If you want new racking, we can recommend racking for that and scale it out. Our design team can do everything from lay out a 3D look of your warehouse to providing you with software to run that inventory as well. But you said something I hate to back up a little bit, but you said something that really, really hit home for me is that with inventory, it's all about process. If you don't have operational process excellence, inventory control is non-existent. So I totally agree with that. And I think that another way to put it that I'm sure almost every member can appreciate is you're kind of at the mercy of the employee who follows the process the least.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
only as good as the worst person to follow the rules,
in other
and that
words,
that can be tough.
in other words, the chain's only as strong as the weakest link, right? The old
Correct.
saying is that. Man, I mean, I go back to my days of operating, and yeah, having a VMI was very scary for me, and having like a fully, like, I don't own any of that, but it's in my building, and I'm still kind of, I oversee it, right? I got to make sure that my team doesn't pull the one for you, one for me program, right? When they're in there. But, for me, Paul, what it did is it did, for me, reduce complexity. Like it would, we see this a lot in businesses that don't have a warehouse manager. Nobody is actually managing the material, and labor, total labor, field labor, and overhead labor is the number one largest line item on a P&L for a service business, followed closely by material and equipment. And those two line items alone, Paul, in some cases can equal up to 50% of the revenue. So mismanaging of labor and mismanaging of material can cost you some serious profit dollars. So what do you feel like? Let's talk about alignment and why you feel like alignment is so important to the relationship.
I think that the best relationships, personal and business, start with everybody being on the same page. I
Mm,
feel like you can't really get anywhere in life if you're not saying, hey, Chris, this is where we are. This is where we want to go. This is what we want it to look like.
mm,
And it's that beginning foundation of openness and open communication that I think is really important.
mm,
And if we don't know what you want to do with your business, if you don't communicate where you want to go and how you want to grow and what you want your business to look like by 20, let's say 2030, how can I help you get there?
mm.
All I can do is suggest something, and then hey, Paul, that's not really where I wanted to go.
Hmm.
And then maybe 2 years down the line, I might say to you, well, Chris, man, come on, where do you want to go? And from there, that's where you really start to see the business relationship grow. Once we're aligned on the same things and we can put the resources of a company like HD Supply to the benefit of you and your business. That's really the most important thing about alignment.
Yeah, and then no longer, because Paul, I think what I don't want to do is I don't want to position HD Supply as only made for big businesses. Like, tell me a little bit about like who is your ideal customer, so as our members are consuming this particular interview, they can kind of understand like what possibilities are there for me.
Yeah. Well, our HC Supply is built for contractors. So whether that's one, two trucks, you're operating out of your house, you might not be at the level where you want to have deep inventory process or you want to have a huge amount of inventory in your location. That's fine. If you want to grow, if we want to help you grow. So it'll start your relationship will start with a team and you'll learn and they'll learn more about you and they'll understand where you're trying to go. Once you get to a certain point, I don't know, let's say it's 5 trucks, I think it's a good kind of count on it. If you get to 5 trucks and you're moving into your first warehouse, that's a great time to include our field team to come in there and talk to you about what you want your warehouse to look like. Engage our design team. I mean, let us take some measurements and put a design together for you. That's something that we can do.
Hmm.
As you're growing through 10, 20, 30, 50 trucks, which is what I want everybody in blue collar to get to, then it's a matter of, can we handle the process? Do we want to have $1 million in standing inventory in our building? Do we want to own it? Is it worth the risk? Is it worth the stress?
Hmm.
And then we can say to ourselves, well, then why don't we bring in a partner who can provide on-site services? And our on-site services are unique in the sense that we fill a full-time employee in your building. So some other, I've heard some other companies talk about on-site services as what I described as a basic thing that we do, which is they'll send a person every so often to count the stuff and make sure it's right. Well, I mean, that goes without saying, Chris. We're working together on something. We want to make sure it's right. But
Hmm.
when we commit to on-site services, we commit to an on-site employee 40 hours a week. So we can scale from anywhere from 1, 2 trucks all the way to 100 plus. I mean, you've seen it. You've seen it probably from you probably got a more unique look at it than most people do
Yeah.
because you were operational for so long. But you can speak to that a little bit differently too.
I think here's what I look at when I think of vendor owned inventory in my building. I think of leverage. That's the first thing that comes to my mind is leverage. I'm trying to leverage all the resources that I have. It's expensive, by the way, and I'll encourage anybody right now, walk to your warehouse, look in your warehouse, and ask yourself this question: if we were a supply house, would I do business with me? And that'll answer the question whether or not you're good at it. And most people won't decide to get good at it until it becomes a pain point. I just say this. Um, my inventory cost or my material cost was at a certain percentage. And I knew I could get lower, Paul, but I didn't feel like the juice was worth the squeeze at that time. Hindsight 2020, I wished I would have focused on it right out of the gate, right? I wished I would have taken the time to be like, 2 points is 2 points, no matter how much revenue you're doing. Like that falls straight to the bottom line. And, I think in my mind, Paul, I was thinking, oh, it's going to be painful. I don't want to go through that. And, when I look at a Steve and a Sonny, the guys that were my outsourced VMI guys that worked in my business, they were an extension of my team. Like when we would have company breakfasts, I would invite those guys in to come to the company breakfast. We would have, end of year parties. I'm inviting these guys to come just like a normal team member. And what I learned, Paul, really quickly is it's not a vendor partner. It's just a partner. And when you view it that way, well, the relationship changes. It's no longer what have you done for me lately? It's more of a how do we collaborate to help me achieve my goals? How can you guys leverage your expertise in my business? And let me just stop and say, consignment isn't for everybody. It will expose you in areas that you didn't even realize you could get exposed in. But for me, I was like, I'm up for that challenge. I need to understand because when you're running, a business, let's just say, an example, Paul, I'm an electrical contractor. My material runs me, say, 15%, and I'm a $3 million business. I mean, that's $450,000 almost in inventory that I'm spending a year. That's a lot of parts and a lot of moving pieces, right?
That is a lot of moving pieces in electrical for sure.
Yeah.
Like if you're moving through the inventory at that speed, it's going to it like you said, it's going to expose you if you're not doing it well. And
Yeah.
I think that you brought up an excellent point that I had really failed to consider at the beginning of our conversation. I think about what you just said about I kind of let it go because I was thinking about pain points. And I was thinking about it as, I wish I had focused on 2 points being 2 points the whole time.
Hmm.
And a lot of people, they scale so quickly that they tend to put this at the bottom.
Yep.
And then it's already such a big problem that they don't know what to do. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that there's at least one blue collar member that if we gave them the option to just burn their warehouse to the ground and start over, they would do it today.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of the things that when we get to that point with vendor managed inventory, on-site services, that's kind of where we start with a lot of people. I don't want anyone to think that we're starting from, hey, you have to have clean processes and we got to go. It's what are you trying to do? Oh, I don't really want to manage this anymore. Okay, well, where are you at now? Well, we don't have anything now. Our guys have credit cards. And they run to the supply house. They sit there and they chit chat with Teresa at the counter, and they have a cup of coffee, and they look at the latest thing. They pick up a Milwaukee drill and for a second, and all that good stuff. Or they're driving across town, and you start thinking about 10 miles doesn't sound like a lot, but if you do it 3 times a day times 30 trucks, that's a cost. There's a cost of doing business there, and
Yeah.
you're opening yourself up to that kind of risk. And rather than them coming into the office at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, grabbing what they need and going.
So
So
you bring,
that's really where we tend to differ from a lot of other vendors is we don't expect you to have your processes figured out when we come in. We
mm.
really want to help you with them.
Well, hang on. So do you guys only like what's your ideal customer? Is there a specific trade? Is it a specific size? Like what if I'm sitting here watching this today and going, I need to do something about it, but I don't know if HD is a good partner that I should explore. Kind of tell me what would be a hey, if you're at least at this position, here's where we can start helping you.
So if you're in a like I said, if you're in a smaller one, if you're in a kind of a startup mode, let's call it 1 to 2 trucks, operating not necessarily operating in a commercial space yet, let us help you with good pricing. Let us help you with consistent delivery. Let us help you start your business relationship with HD Supply. Because the other thing that's really important is you want a vendor partner that understands what you're buying because I'm sure that if you go to a supply house, they can tell you what you bought, but there's nobody there looking at it to say, hey, maybe you need to stock this instead of coming here every day for 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you want to order 10 and keep them in a on a shelf somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
When you roll into the 5 to 10 truck area and you're looking at commercial space, then you really want to look at, do I want to own that much inventory? On the big, let's say big ticket items. If you're thinking about plumbing, we're thinking about water heaters. If we're thinking about electrical, we're thinking about maybe, I don't know, panels and larger items that we need to set up. Or if we're thinking about HVAC, it might even be equipment. It could be something like, hey, you know what? There's 100 different capacitors we could use for an HVAC repair. Do we want to stock 200 capacitors? The
Mm-hmm.
answer is no. No, you really don't. And then at that point, you're maybe at the stage where you don't necessarily have processes in place. So you're perfectly happy sending your guys out there to buy one thing at a time.
Yeah.
But then are you capitalizing on your volume? And generally you're not.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part is I'd love to save people money. I love to work with people and make sure that they understand how we can benefit them because this is, after all, it's a partnership. I want to help you get to where you want to go.
So I'm
But
hearing you say all three trades,
correct,
um, equipment and material,
correct.
and entry level 1 to 2 trucks.
I would say that that's all pretty fair.
So HD Supply could be my inventory solution, not my vendor partner, my inventory solution, right? You guys could be an inventory solution for me and my business.
Correct.
Um, one last question for you, Paul, and we're going to kind of come to a close. How do you feel like HD Supply supports the members? Like how does that look?
I think it all starts with what we talked about at the beginning, where it is the ability to get something done on a large scale at a national level, but bringing it down to that local feel that you need.
Hmm.
So whether it's working with our inside team, whether it's working with our field team, whether it's working with design or inventory management, we don't want you to ever feel like you're dealing with as large of a company as we are, if that
Sure.
makes sense. We want it to feel close to what you're trying to do.
Mm.
So we always want to make sure that you're assigned to the blue collar members are assigned to a person. That's very important to me personally because I feel like if I can't call it a relationship, I can't call it a partnership if you are trying to if you're trying to date the building. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really want you to have a person. I want somebody to work with you. And until if we're waiting to assign you somebody, that person's going to be me personally.
Mm.
I'm happy to work with every single member of Blue Collar to make sure that they get off on the right foot with us.
Awesome.
That's the great start of it. I mean, I really think that we support your members. We support the members through multiple layers of their business growth. So
Mm.
we talked about how they grow with us. So we can start you when you're starting out. It's you in your truck out of your garage. We can grow with you into your first commercial space. We can grow with you when you sign your 50th lease on a truck, and we can have a solution that makes sense for you each step of the way.
Gotcha.
We can really be there for you and help you kind of help be that support that you need.
Yeah, and I know Paul, you and I've talked a lot about in depth about possible solutions and programs that we could continue to do to support our members. And remember, HD Supply is another resource, right? And I used it. I didn't say they're another supply house, right? Supply houses are everywhere in the local market. There's all kinds of supply houses. But the difference is when I'm using and leveraging supply house, instead of using the word supply house, I use inventory resource, right? They're an inventory resource for me. And sometimes those little mental shifts can make such a massive difference in the business. It's all about perspective. And maybe in the past, you've maybe tried to have a conversation with HC Supply and you don't feel like it really went the way you wanted to go. I'm going to encourage you today to think about what would be if I explored new possibilities. Maybe the person I spoke to didn't really understand me. And you've heard today from Paul that it's important that we know the person behind the business. And so reach out to Paul. You can contact HD Supply by reaching out to them. Over on the left-hand side of the vault, you're going to see Blue Collar Elite Buy. When you click on that, you'll scroll down, you'll see HD Supply. Paul's contact information will be there. Remember, I say this often, membership does have its privileges. And so there's some special unique offerings that we have as a part of our relationship with HD that we extend those back over to you as a member. Paul, any final thoughts before we come into the finale?
Final thoughts that I have are, Chris, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate the members. I thank you very much for giving me the time to have this conversation with you. I always love talking to you, man. We could do this all day. I really feel like it could get really out of hand over time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the final thought I want to leave your members with is no matter where you are in your business, no matter what stage you are in that growth, I want to be a part of it. I
Mm,
want HC Supply to be a part of it, and we want to partner with you to really grow your business. So
sure.
that's the parting thought I'll leave you with, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul. And listen, we cannot do a vendor voice without having a fun facts finale. Fun facts finale. I'm going to rapid fire some questions at you, Paul, and we're just going to literally jump in both feet right now.
Let's go,
Would
man.
you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Oh, I feel like we're gonna lose either way because you lose with the 100 because there's so many. I guess I'd take one horse-sized duck. Yeah, yeah, I feel safer with the one horse-sized duck.
This is kind of like a pick your poison, right?
Yeah,
Which end
pretty
of it,
much,
which end of the
man.
tiger do you want? The tail or the
Yeah,
front end?
yeah,
Uh,
I'm taking the horse-sized duck for sure.
okay, there you go. You heard guy. If you could listen to only one genre of music for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One genre of music for the rest of my life. 80s, 90s hair metal.
Paul. Wow. Okay, well now we're here. I'm gonna just ask. 80s, 90s hair metal. I'm supposing there was probably some impressionable band or artist during that time. Who is the first band or person to come to mind during that 80s, 90s hair metal moment?
If I had to pull the trigger right now, it'd be Motley Crue.
Oh my God.
And
It
I
is.
and I think it's because the music is generally very upbeat.
Yeah.
And if I had to listen to one thing for the rest of my life, I'd want it to be positive. And I'd want to press pause on it and go, all right, yeah, now we can go after it.
Yeah. You want to talk about some people that had a lot of ups and downs in their career, and you go back and look at some of the things they've been through and where they're at. And man, I look back and I wonder, like, how did those guys live through that era of lifestyle? It's just super crazy. All right, great. You ready?
I'm deeply surprised that a lot of them are still alive too.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
because you know they did not make good decisions. All right. Here's the next one. What's the most controversial food opinion that you have? An example might be like ketchup on your eggs or dry cereal, milk on the side. What's the most controversial food opinion that you have?
Controversial food opinion is I think Brussels sprouts are underrated.
Oh, hey, I'll get down with that. I didn't realize I liked Brussels sprouts until I turned 40 years old.
I
So,
feel the same way. I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago that I was like, I think it was all preparation, man. I think I got really screwed on that when I was a kid.
you had one bad experience with a Brussels sprout and they ruined you for life, right?
Yeah, and all the like all the jokes on TV and in like movies and stuff is Brussels sprouts are like the definitive not good food.
Ah,
So I think they're not nearly as bad as anyone says, and I encourage everybody to revisit it.
I say it's all in the preparation for it, just like with almost anything, Paul. Watch this. You ready? Honey, bacon, and balsamic vinaigrette. Go try that on your Brussels sprouts. There's a whole prep we can
You
connect on
got it,
that. And
man.
I'll give you my recipe. I'm a big kitchen guy. I love to be in the kitchen. If you had to wear one color for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One color,
Yeah.
like dark blue,
Dark.
like denim color, like jeans.
Okay. Like indigo blue.
Yeah, like indigo blue. Yeah.
Indigo blue it is. You heard that. All right. I'm going to hit you with two more, Paul. If you had to eat at only one restaurant chain for the rest of your life, which one would you pick?
One restaurant chain for the rest of my life.
Doesn't have to be national, but it could be regional, local.
Okay. If I had to eat at one restaurant chain for the rest of my life, it's hyper regional to Southeast Florida. It goes to about Port St. Lucie. It'd be Flanagan's.
I don't
Love
know
it.
that I've had Flanagan's.
Well, then the next time you're this way, man, we'll make it happen.
Let's do that.
It's hysterical because it's a name that sounds like an Irish pub that's decorated like a 1990s Red Lobster. Like it's all fishing, and their most famous thing is ribs.
Sounds
It
like a
just screw-
confused restaurant, but it is
it
what it
just
is,
messes
right?
with my brain to the point where, and the food is good. I'm like, gotta do it, man.
Perfect. Here's the last one. You ready?
Lay it on me.
If aliens landed tomorrow and they asked you to show them one thing that explains humanity, what would you show them?
Explains humanity. Oh, what would I show them? That's a good one, man. I, you got to pick something really awesome. Like, the joke is you can't show them the pyramids because they supposedly built them. You know, you like I'd want to pick something like I want to pick something that shows human ingenuity.
Mm,
So maybe like I don't know, because it wouldn't be the space shuttle because we didn't get that far. Yeah, you'd want to show. I'd probably want to show them like I don't know. I'd probably want to show them maybe One World Trade, like in New York. Show them the
ah,
ingenuity and the resilience of people,
mm,
and
okay.
show them the engineering effort that went into building a building like that,
Right on.
while also being in the shadow of something that really affected us. I mean, I know we're talking about it on Veterans Day, but it's something that just popped in there, man. I think that would be the thing.
Awesome. And then I said that I would be done, but Paul, I just feel like this is a good one for you.
Go for it, man.
If you could ban one common phrase from the English language forever, what would it be?
I could be. Oh, circling back.
Circling back.
Yep.
I heard it. And I'm glad I did not use circling back in today's interview, Paul. Paul, thank you so much, my friend. It's good to be able to share some energy, learn about HD Supply. Members, don't forget that membership does have its privilege. You need to contact HD Supply to explore what kind of solution they can be for your business. You can find them located in the vault. And other than that, we'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care, be well. Hey, thank you for hanging out with us and watching the videos. We're super excited to be sharing in time and energy and information with you and with your team. We hope that you found the time super valuable. To learn more about the Blue Collar Success Group, you can find us at our website at www.thebluecollarsuccessgroup.com. That's right, thebluecollarsuccessgroup.com. We look forward to serving you in the next video.